Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and boy does it feel good to be home. That's right, I'm back in my house and I've got all of the luxuries like my full setup and also having a green screen behind me so I can take up less of the screen, right? Or at least I'm hopefully not got any bigger, even though I did eat a lot probably while I was away, but at least the background is now transparent. Anyway, I digress. Today I'm going to be playing in the Lancen. This is a tier 8 Swedish premium medium tank that is very, very good, but just statistically not as strong as quite a few of, should we say, the vehicles that come out in the last couple of years. Lancen entered the game along with the Swedish medium tanks several years ago. Had 320 alpha damage, still does, 10 degrees of gun depression, a really nice damage mid of 2086, just feels really nice. It's this all-purpose medium tank that can really do it all. And while it doesn't have very much armor, it has enough armor to still force your opponents to have to aim and not hit one of its auto ricochets, especially if it's using its gun depression. It's a tank that not a lot of people talk about, but it's actually got really nice statistics in all of the areas that an advanced player wants to have them. It's got really good camo, not the best view range at 380, but as long as you're willing to use a premium consumable on this vehicle and coated optics, or even if you're not willing to use a premium consumable and you just use coated optics on this tank, you can get your crew up to a healthy point where you're actually a fairly proficient scout. It's just waiting here for hopefully my team to be able to nail this Boras before firing. It's one thing that I really like to do, and that is that if you've got an opponent who for some reason is sitting still, why let them know that they're sitting still until they start moving. If you know that you're able to react in time, if you know you're able to get that clean shot, and you think that the opponent is stuck out in the open for all of your allies as well, just give them a few extra seconds. Maybe your friends don't have as good reactions as you do, or at least I would hope so, right? Apart from maybe later on in the evening. So why not give your team the luxury of having those extra couple of seconds to possibly aim at the target? And who knows, maybe they're going to get taken out before they even possibly get back. So, oh dear, this isn't good for me at all. The T-34-3 shaves off a tremendous amount of my hit points, and even the TVP-100 on the other flank has something to say about it. Luckily, my armor held up against the TVP-100, and the high explosive shell doesn't penetrate me. Otherwise, I would not be having many hit points left in this battle. So we're playing today on Fisherman's Bay. The center of this map is just absolutely incredible for any medium tank. Just working these bush lines, shall I say any medium tank that has decent enough camo rating, just like this vehicle. Actually has one of the better camo ratings of any of the tier 8 mediums. The Lancen can use that in these bush locations to be a little bit cheeky. And with coated optics on this vehicle, maybe even if you had a second build on this tank, you might want to even consider possibly even dropping the gun rammer to use a commander's vision system on a map like this. This thing could be very proficient in the middle of the map. Right now, it's one of those kind of games which is not evolving too quickly. Kind of nice when that happens, right? I don't know about you, but all of the games in World of Tanks seem to be getting faster and faster and faster. So much so that when you do actually end up getting into a game like this, you get a little bit jumpy and try and maybe micromanage to do things that otherwise you probably wouldn't. So yeah, to try and blind fire the T-34-3 who hit me from the bush location there, zooming out to see if my shell hit them. Luckily, my camo rating far exceeds the E50's, and wow, that E50 is not very healthy. We managed to do 354 damage ourselves, and then our team followed it up with about 1,100 assistance, and just like that, that E50M has gone from being full health to now being a one-shot. And the more pressure you can apply to the medium tanks on the other side here in these bushes, the more that you have a possible chance of being able to win the central position. And I think that it's the medium tanks that win the central position on this map that then can have more influence either towards the heavy tanks that are making their way through the east, or alternatively, maybe try and break some of the tank destroyers or the medium tanks who are camping over towards the west. Alright, so we're taking some swings here at a Patriot. Doesn't seem like an opportunity that we can progress too easily. So I'm going to go back into this bush location. And what you're going to see me do here is just one of those little things in World of Tanks. This is something that you're only able to figure out through games and games and games and games. So we're going to shoot that building, and then it actually means that we have a tiny little gap where we're going to be able to get one shell into the E75. and hopefully maybe even another shell at this Patriot. It's just one of those things you have to experience in World of Tanks, but through just playing and learning. Not everybody is going to be able to immediately see, oh look, there's an opportunity, maybe if I shoot down that house then I'm going to be able to get a couple of shots into the crossfire. But it's those little things in World of Tanks that make the difference in the players, and again it's just something that will only come via experience. And just like that, we managed to get pretty much 960, well we would have done on average, damage free dealt to these heavy tanks. Most of that because we knew about knocking down that building to be able to get the crossfire in. And this is where the Lancen's just lovely. It has a great alpha damage that allows it to trade efficiently. I like tanks like the AMBT and even tanks like the 122TM, but unfortunately the 122TM doesn't really have the DPM that this vehicle has. I'd say that vehicles like this really do kind of get outclassed by a tank like the AMBT, which is probably one of the reasons why I'm not playing this thing constantly. However, I would also say that this tank has way better camouflage than the AMBT, so possibly the American auto-reloading medium tank might have been caught out in this scenario against the E50, or wouldn't have been able to be so cheeky. Alright, so this has already been a fantastic game for a tier 8 medium in a tier 9 round. We're up to over 5,100 combined, but there's still neck and neck with regards to the kills, but unfortunately for us, our opponents are up by 1,000 hit points. Well, not quite now after we managed to get a shell into the 777-2. So in this scenario, as we can see, my team are pushing through the town. The last thing that I want to do is to leave this E50 and the Leopard prototype in front of me, and so I'm going to be able to get forwards. And hopefully, we're going to finish off the E50, and they're not going to be able to get shots into my team down below. Unfortunately for me, I low rolled, the mother of all low rolls, 263 out of 320 average. That's like a minus 20% roll there. And it means that we leave the E50 on 12 hit points. I'm not sure if they fired before us. I think they did. So it's not like the low roll cost me 400 hit points, but to then be stuck in that situation afterwards, that was incredibly awkward. Nevertheless, we made the push play for the team. We risked our hit points, but because we managed to dig out those mediums, we're now up to 6,100 combined. But more importantly, we've dug these medium tanks out of a position where they were able to farm our allies. And that's something that I want to talk about in this game. Your hit points are a resource, and you know, you should spend them to try and make positional plays. You should spend them to try and deal damage. You should spend them to try and take out that important vehicle that maybe is a one-shot that you think when that tank is out of the game, then I'm going to be able to make some more pressure. Or in that case, make a pressure play to mean that your opponents are not going to be able to farm up your friends. Because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, you are going to need to have friends inside World of Tanks if you're wanting to win at least the majority of your battles. So, fantastic round all in all so far for the Lancen. Just hoping that my standard B is going to make their way through the south, maybe try and get into some of the bushes that we can see over at the K56 area, and then be able to use that vision to allow me to possibly pressure the tank destroyers over towards the west. However, I make a bit of a misplay here. I drive down not expecting to get spotted with the great camera rating that this vehicle has, but clearly the TVP 100 has very decent view range and is able to spot me all the way from the, from a position that I really didn't expect. Luckily, I don't fall. I guess that was a bit of a mistake. I probably should have pulled back further into the town and flanked around. And if I had done that, then I wouldn't have been taking that risk. And remember, World of Tanks is a game of chance. Yeah, right. But it's also a game of making as few mistakes as possible. And every time you get through one of those situations, maybe one in 5 times my opponents hit me, and then I'm out the game, and yeah, my team would be in this situation doomed without me here, because they really need my vision across the south. They really need me to be policing in and really trying to also help them take down this close round. So we've got 5 minutes left on the game, and it's completely neck and neck. There's 6 tanks remaining on either side. Luckily, however, my team is up by 1,000 hit points. So I'm going to make my way into the bushes, going to try and extend my view range with my coated optics, and this is where a vehicle like this has to just use its mobility and also its setup, hopefully with its view range, to control the distance. I'm going to go between the bushes. Got to watch out for knocking that fence down there. If you knock down fences, some people are able to see them if they've got eagle eyes, and also in this kind of a position I feel a little bit vulnerable to a blind fire. but I don't think there's much I can do about it. And we've got quite a bit of time to work with. So all I need to do is just try and hope that my opponents are going to make a mistake. And this is about using all of the time at your disposal. And there we go. There's the TVP 100 who's spotted. I'm going to fire one into their turret. Am I going to get spotted in return? No. Am I going to be able to get my second shot in here? I'm going to blind fire one. And then notice the T-34-3 is also spotted up in this position. And we're feathering, we're feathering, we're feathering. And yeah, you miss all of the shots that you don't take. And fortunately for us, that one flies true over the ridgeline, taking out that T-34-3 who removed a substantial amount of my hit points early on. I'm going to use the aiming indicator on the minimap as well to take a swing at the TVP 100, hoping to be able to finish off the Czechoslovakian Tier 8 tank destroyer. And now I'm going to try and communicate with my team. When it starts to get to this stage, 4 minutes left, it's time to commit our hit points. In this scenario, it's most likely going to be the team that attacks, especially if we're up by 1,000 hit points and we're up by a tank to give us a chance to win. And we see that the Progettos both push across the northern flank. Fantastic stuff, shutting down a Borsig. And luckily, looks like TVPs are on discount right now, as we managed to find yet another one. Oh, was that actually the same TVP? Oh my word, what a mistake. There's only one TVP on the enemy team. I just can't believe I actually missed that blind shot that we put at them. They were still at 350 hit points, and the only thing that's on discount is apparently my focus today. Look, I had to drive back many hours from Tankfest, where I was staying at just today, but I didn't want to miss out on also getting you your helping of Quacky Babs today. Alright, so now you'll see that I'm also asking in chat, Standard B, please use HP. And this is where it's always frustrating for me personally. When I encounter top tier players who have obviously had good games, up to 3 kills, who just don't seem to have that sense of urgency later on in the battle. And you're there, you don't have any more hit points left to spend. You spent them earlier on in the battle to try and dig your opponents out of what you thought was important locations. And then now you'll see that I'm starting to get a little less patient with my requests. Play, push, W key. And what more can I say? With 2 minutes and 17 seconds left, I once again tell my team, 2 minutes left, time to push, and thank goodness the Standard B is going to be going in here. Absolutely awesome. Now, in this kind of a situation, it's very important that when you're a one-shot, that if you have allies that can push, that have hit points, that you don't waste yourself. However, do you see that I immediately react when I hear shells hitting near the Standard B? Because the last thing that you want to do is to leave that player who actually helped you out and to make that push just stuck in the open. And because my opponents are firing at the Standard B, that means that maybe their camera ratings have dropped off. And you can see we're able to catch out this Su-130 PM. But it looks like I'm not the only person who can see them, as the Standard P puts 1 shell, 2 shells, 3 shells in, and I don't get any spotting. So I guess the Standard B must have actually spotted for themselves in that scenario. Maybe the Su-130 PM fired, and it just felt like I was the one that lit them up, but that clearly wasn't the case. Alright, we're up to 4,400 damage dealt, 2,700 spotting here, but the game is not won. We've still got 3 vehicles left to deal with. The TVP is still alive on 3 hit points, not any longer as the Progetto shuts them down. And all that's left between us and a victory now is a Progetto that missed their first shell, so I'm going to close the distance, try and get above them and see if we can be able to add to our already awesome game in the Lancen. The Progetto rocks up, the hero of the northern flank, followed up by the player who was at least holding the south, and just like that, ladies and gents, boys and girls, we're able to smash out nearly 8,000 combined in definitely not the most favorable matchup and not the most favorable situation for the Lancen. Having just spent a week with my good buddy Ike, he's Norwegian if you didn't know, it was quite nice to get out this kind of Viking Raider vehicle on the old YouTube channel today. And this vehicle, it is a bit of a raider of a tank. It goes in, it's got the DPM, it's got the flexibility, It's got the gun depression, and really the only thing that truly sucks about this tank is the accuracy. 0.38, although we wouldn't have seen that from when we were shooting at the T-34-3, and also the gun handling's fairly mediocre for 2022 World of Tanks for your Tier A mediums. Would I recommend everybody pick up the Lancen? No. Would I recommend maybe taking one out for a spin or trying to get your hands on one if you're able to get it on a discount and you don't mind poor gun handling, but you like other statistics that make up for it? Yeah, possibly. But really, I think that as the years go by, vehicles like this just stand still in time while we have auto reloaders with higher alpha damage and comparable gun depression and comparable armor going into the game, and you'd be silly to want to play something like this compared to an AMBT. And the result, a big boy experience game. 1,728 base experience gives us an ace tanker, and we get a Confederate medal and a high caliber for our near 5,000 damage dealt. Always nice to pick up over 8k combined, and while we fired I think a couple of premium rounds, possibly. As this game happened with a credit booster, this was a 200,000 credits profit, of which we have to take away 10k for purchasing our premium consumable at a discount. And our standard B, to be fair, did 4,000 damage and picked up 4 kills. Just didn't take a scratch, at least for the first 12 minutes of the battle. And so it's always interesting for me when I'm constantly trying to evaluate how to spend your hit points in World of Tanks. I think I'm probably guilty of being a little bit nonchalant with my hit points earlier on in the battle, and I think that probably the standard B on my team might be guilty of the other way. Now, both of us are at fault. I lose my hit points too early, they save too many of them arguably, where they're relying on their team to make plays in a game where we literally only had 40 seconds left. Time was precious. There had to be an imminent play at the end of the game to actually win the battle. And just like I said, with those shots through the tiny slit in the building that we knocked down by just knowing that that part of the building was destructible, that's only something that can come through experience in World of Tanks as to when you need to spend those hit points. And yeah, sometimes hindsight is not a luxury that you can always have. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video in the Lancen. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below whether you are the kind of player who maybe spends their hit points a little bit too early in the battle, or if you're the kind of player who, if you're being honest, maybe feels that you're guilty of maybe not getting involved too early. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.